More about the closure of that Whole Foods in San Francisco. Plus, Nordstrom closes 2 San Francisco stores. Saks off 5th closing its store by the end of summer. You have got a plethora of major retail stores closing, not because of the retail apocalypse, but because of safety issues in San Francisco. And it's finally getting to the point where the media is like, you know what? There might be a little bit of crime behind these closures. And if you're a regular viewer of the News for Reasonable People, you will know that this is kind of one of those things that I have been pounding the pulpit on, because in these closures, when Whole Foods closed, they basically came right out and said, yeah, we had 568 calls to 911 over 13 months. It was a no-go. The shenanigans that happened in Whole Foods, now we're going to get into some of that. But this is that full cycle deal where it's not, it's not the retail apocalypse. It's the specific location of these stores in a city that is just basically run amok. And there's no law. There's no law. When you've got people just doing drugs out on the streets, selling stuff out in the streets, selling people out on the streets, when you have got shoplifting running rampant, all of these things, they don't exactly scream out, hey, come shopping here. It'll be good. Or, hey, bring your big company convention to San Francisco. It'll be good. You're going to have to walk past the, endless tents on the sidewalk and the invariable urine and human feces and needles and tinfoil for the fentanyl. You're going to have to, work your way around those things. Maybe you can reimagine our fine city without those things. Yeah. People aren't doing that, right? They're just saying, yeah, we're not going there. We're not going there. We're not going there. We're not going there. And now businesses are saying en masse, yeah, we can't operate here. Let's get into it. Let's get into some more deets about the Whole Foods closure in San Francisco. Plus, Nordstrom closes 2 San Francisco stores. Here we go. Last month, the Whole Foods supermarket in San Francisco announced it was closing a little more than a year after it opened. Unlike a lot of closures that happened in the city, the company made it pretty clear in this case that conditions on the street were to blame. This was one of the rare closures where they came right out and said, yeah, it is way too dangerous for us to be operating here. We are a no-go. We're out of here. We invested millions of dollars into the opening of this store. And now, 13 months later, 568 911 calls later, 1 overdose in their restroom, multiple instances of violence, shoplifting, you name it, when you get drug addicts who are mentally not all there, in your environment, that's what happens. And Whole Foods didn't hold back. They said, yeah, it's not safe for us. It's not safe for our managers, our employees, our customers, our vendors. It's not safe for anybody. We're shutting her down. That was pretty significant. Wild, right? Nevertheless, last week, the San Francisco Chronicle published an opinion piece claiming that there was more to the story. Okay. All right. When the Whole Foods market in San Francisco Civic Center suddenly announced a temporary closure on April 10th due to unspecified safety concerns, national political pundits were swift in seeing this as a telltale sign of the city's apocalyptic doomscape. Maybe it's not an apocalyptic doomscape. Apocalyptic. That's hard to say. Apocalypse Now. That was an epic movie. Apocalypse Now. God, that's hard to say. Redux. Oh, that's the version you need to see, because you had the Playboy helicopter. Anyway, all right. Anyway, according to one person who worked at the Civic Center Whole Foods, sales weren't too great for the supposed flagship store of the region. Numbers were low compared to other San Francisco stores. Gee, I wonder why. Could it be that every day you had 911 rolling up to your store? Once for sure, and possibly a second time. That's just not good for business, right? Yeah, I don't think I'm going to shop here anymore. A lot of other stores could have probably made that go, but Whole Foods, whole paycheck. That's not the look that they want. People doing drugs in the restroom, people having sex in the restroom, prostitutes going in there doing that, people going into the restroom and having sex for, drug money. You had that going on. People ODing in the restroom, all of that stuff happening. People screaming, yelling, fighting inside the store. That's not the look. I don't know if you know this, but that's not the look that Whole Foods is looking for. So Sunday, the New York Times offered a more realistic picture of why the store closed. Why is this such a shocker? Why is this such a mystery? Because nobody wants to admit that all this policy in San Francisco has sent things on kind of the death curve, right? I mean, when businesses are shutting down in what was once very vibrant economic area, when they shut down left and right, that's part of that doom loop that we talk about all the time. As things get worse, they get worse, and it kind of just spirals down. You don't have that ability to kind of get things going the other way. You don't have the ability to reimagine or rethink it getting better. You can just watch, as things just, the swirl goes down in the toilet, right? You tell me if this sounds more like a poor sales problem or an apocalyptic doomscape problem. People threaten employees. So here's the statement about Whole Foods. People threaten employees with guns, with knives and sticks. What? No swords? Wasn't a single sword incident at Whole Foods. Do not even tell me that. I know there was a sword in there. There was a sword in there. There was a baseball bat in there. I know it because those are piece of rebar. You bet. These people are crazy on drugs, combination. This is what they do. Now you might say, well, Sean, they just need housing. They flung food. They screamed. They fought and tried to defecate on the floor. According to records of 568 emergency calls over 13 months, many depicting scenes of mayhem. Now you can't hide that, right? You can't hide that. So I just watch some San Francisco, Streets of San Francisco 2023, not 1971 or whatever that was. How about Male with Machete is back? They know these players. Got a guy with machete. That's pretty close to a sword. I'll take that. Male with Machete is back. The report on 911 call states another security guard was just assaulted. Another says, a man with a 4-inch knife attacked several security guards, then sprayed store employees with foam from a fire extinguisher, according to a third. In September, a 30-year-old man died in the bathroom from an overdose of fentanyl, a highly potent opioid, and methamphetamine. So he was on meth and fentanyl. Maybe the meth was laced with fentanyl. We don't know. But, you can openly read incidents of what happened there. And then, national media just doesn't really want to report on that because it wouldn't make San Fran look good. And, a lot of the national media is on the side of, it's progressive. So you're going to have some growing pains in your progress. Yeah, I'll say. In addition to the drug-fueled mayhem, there was also constant theft from the store. Imagine that. Shocking. Drug addicts looking for their next fix, stealing stuff from a store, selling it in the open air markets that all you got to do is just walk up to. It's not even like they're hidden, right? These open air drug markets are not hidden. Why do we allow this to continue? Why don't we drop the hammer on it? Well, too much progress has taken place. We can't go backwards now and arrest people. And even if you did arrest people with a district attorney in place in San Francisco, that they're not throwing people in jail. Same thing in Portland. A lot of these district attorneys, they're not doing much in the way of incarcerating people that should be off the streets. They're not doing that because of, somehow it's attributed to racism. To me, you've just created a situation. You've created this open-ended scenario that you're going to have a very difficult, society in general is going to have a very difficult time pushing back on, because once this behavior gets out there and people are like, oh, this is acceptable, It's not like they're just going to stand down and say, okay, here's your street backs. Here we go. Yeah, we agree. No more open air drug market. No more selling of the heroin or the fentanyl or the meth or the whatever it is. Ketamine. Not always. Ketamine showed up in Bob Lee. He's the CEO that got murdered, right? Ketamine, cocaine, and an antihistamine, I think. I mean, he could have had a cold. More likely it had to do with the meth though, right? He had that in his system and he got whacked by his fellow tech bro over the guy's sister. Police described theft as rampant at Whole Foods, with thieves walking out with armfuls of alcohol, at least at the start. After 250 shopping hand baskets were stolen, the company restocked with 50 more. Those went missing too. I mean, you can't operate a business doing this. You just can't. And then people, just like this article, are like, is crime part of the equation? Could crime possibly be one of the things? No, we're in a retail apocalypse. So during the store's 13 months in operation, at least 14 people were arrested, including on charges of grand theft and battery. According to official reports, Chief Scott said that plainclothes officers were sent there and security improved over time, but seemingly not enough for the company. You had too much exposure to utter nut jobs stealing stuff and doing criminal activities. You had that day in, day out. The barrage was so often, it was so great that Whole Foods said, yeah, we're done. And they didn't even make it 2 years, not even 2 years. It was so bad that they're just like, yeah, we're out of here. F this location. But hey, you guys can shop with us at our other Whole Foods in the area and like a lot of other stores. And you can join us online at whatever.com. The story closes on a local homeless man named Joseph Peterson, who told the Times that he understood why the store had closed. People kept stealing from it, he said. Oh, that's weird. That seems pretty basic, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. You got 5 words in there that kind of encapsulates it. And that on top of a lot other, but people kept stealing from it, he said. Peterson admits that he stole from it too, but claims he only stole food to eat, not items to sell for drugs. Who knows? He may be even telling the truth. You know what? If he did, I still blame him for breaking the law. And you know what? San Francisco is one of these cities where they hand out food like it doesn't cost anything, because it costs its residents, its taxpayers money to hand out. But, it's government. So it's government money. It's like the Obama phone. Do you remember that? Obama's handing out phones. And he did. He handed out millions of phones. Hey, go get an Obama phone. Yeah. The point is that there are always people eager to downplay the problems, because the one thing they're absolutely sure about is that right-wing outlets are always wrong, right? I mean, I've been covering this for so often. How many closures do you think I've covered? I don't know. It's a lot. So if people on the right wing are saying San Francisco is a mess, there must be more to the story. And it's fine to make up a straw man argument you can easily dismiss, like apocalyptic doomscape. Yeah, you create this image of, things are just headed to hell in a handbasket, but you don't really get into why. You're just like, San Francisco stores are leaving. Well, why? Oh, because of crime. It's pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. Not to say that San Fran is the only store. It's not the only store, the only city. You got lots of others. You've got cities in Republican-run states too that are having difficulty with crime, but not like this. Because if they were, I'd be podcasting the crap out of that, right? Because it's going on. It's happening. If it's an epidemic and it's happening, I will cover it. It's business, right? Business is not emotional. Facts don't care about your feelings, right? Little Ben Shapiro there. And again, if you have 568 emergency calls spread over roughly 400 days and people dying in your bathroom, you have something like an apocalyptic doomscape problem. And you do. And that's what we talk about. But we're not making it up. It's not just we're blowing this out of proportion. All we got to do is read the facts and go, there's your sign. right? I mean, it's not that hard to do. If you have people stealing armfuls of alcohol and other items for personal use or resale on a daily basis, then slow sales are not your primary problem. And that is literally what most media outlets will refer to as, sales were just slow for that store. Or, the physical layout of that store, we would have had to invest too much money in to get it to the point where it'd be optimal for our model of business. Nonsense. That is such crap. People were stealing so much stuff and it became so dangerous to run, a business operation at your location that you said, no more. We're not doing it. We're done. And that's what you got going on. The primary problem is homeless people who spend their lives seeking drugs by stealing from retailers and reselling what they steal to buy fentanyl or meth or heroin. Boom. Done. Not that hard to figure out, right? Let me read that again, just so we can be on the same page and ultra clear. The primary problem is homeless people who spend their lives seeking drugs by stealing from retailers, selling what they steal to buy fentanyl, meth, or heroin. Game over. All right. So then how do you address that? All right. So you got drug addicts, you got stealing, you got shoplifting, you got fentanyl, meth, heroin. Geez, we got a lot of issues there to work on, don't we? Yeah. And that's why, all these governments, they reimagine, they rethink, they talk about it. They come up with a program that, doesn't work. Just like kind of Build Back Better. There's no building back or better, right? It's kind of like harm reduction. A lot of harm, no reduction. Housing first. Yeah, you got the housing, but just because you put somebody into housing doesn't mean that their drug addiction is going to go away. It's not going to get them onto the road to recovery. Vast majority of folks are just going to take that housing, say thank you, and continue doing their drugs. And we know this because one of my podcasts yesterday was City of San Francisco's Board of Supervisors rubber stamping another $9 million in damages to hotels that the city rented from hotel operators to put crazy homeless drug addicts in during the pandemic. And they reefed on those hotel rooms so badly that you've got 26 million here, you got 20 million here, 9 million here. You've just got payoff after payoff after payoff of, perfectly fine, legit hotels that these crazy drug-induced people just tore the crap out of. That's what you got going on. Not that hard to figure out, right? Many of these people just nod off until it's time for the next round of theft, but some become deranged and violent and will attack anyone who gets between them and their next fix. Yeah, you have examples of video of that all day long on YouTube, just video after video after video. And yet, national media is like, I wonder if crime has something to do with this. Is it possible that there's some kind of criminal activity going? Is that possible? Is that what we've got going on? I don't know. Let's reimagine and rethink it. We'll talk about it and we'll come up with a game plan and, and then it'll fail and then we just won't address it anymore. We'll just pretend, I'm not sure. Crime? Maybe. Maybe if it was the only problem the city was facing, it could deal with it. But San Francisco is also in the midst of a collapse in commercial real estate caused by more people working at home. This is all kind of working against San Francisco. It's working against Portland. It's working to an extent to a lot of major cities, but particularly cities that defunded their police, decriminalized drugs, and, the no bail thing. The list goes on and on and on. And it's made those cities, San Francisco included, the popular cities for people who want to live a lifestyle of drugs to go to. And they have gone in droves. This means fewer people using public transportation. We're talking about more people working at home at San Fran. This means fewer people using public transportation and few people shopping and eating downtown during the week. And when you add all of that up, you get the urban doom loop. And we've been talking about that. It's the downtown core and the ultimate struggle to come back after the pandemic, after we shut down business. And that was just a stupid plan. When in the world do you shut down an economy the size of the US over a pandemic? I mean, seriously, take your lumps and move on. Yeah, that's the way things should be run. Like Florida did. Now, you don't hear about me talking about the downtown cores of Florida cities, do you? No. Do I ever talk about that? I will talk every now and then. I think I did a podcast on, it was a St. Petersburg or kind of Tampa area, Walmart that had a massive shoplifting issue. Imagine that. And they closed down, but very few stores, closings, major national retail outlets or restaurants or whatever, very few have closed out of safety issues in Republican-run cities or states. Just haven't had it. Hasn't been a thing. None of it means that San Francisco is about to disappear or that you're likely to be murdered if you visit the place. No, and that's not what we're focusing on. It's not literally as apocalyptic doomscape. That's just the straw man people invent in admitting that there's a real problem. Businesses are closing, and until the situation improves somehow, they won't be coming back. Yeah, so many closures that have happened that they're all starting to kind of run together. There's another case in point just today. Nordstrom is closing both of its stores downtown. We talked about that. Nordstrom is planning to close both of its downtown San Fran stores. It will close a second nearby downtown Nordstrom Rack. They're kind of basically across the street, right? The retailer confirmed the closures on Tuesday in an email to employees. Company's chief store offices wrote that the dynamics of the downtown San Francisco market have changed dramatically over the past several years, impacting customer foot traffic to our stores and our ability to operate successfully. Their ability to operate successfully and not have their employees killed, maimed, assaulted, stolen from, not have the, good percentage of their profits go right out the front door in the 5-finger discount. So yeah, their ability to operate successfully, they shut her down. They just shut her down. And I can't really blame them. And the Nordstrom one, that was an interesting one. They came right out and said, yeah, we can't run a business here. Okay. I respect that. Good for you. You at least called a spade a spade. All these other businesses. Yeah. I mean, we just, food costs have gone up. Cost of labor has gone up. Transportation costs have gone up. And we just, it's weird that we can operate all these other stores, somewhat outside of this immediate area. We can operate all those just fine. But these ones here, the 2 Walmarts in downtown Portland that are gone, that are no longer operating. Yeah, got to close those ones down. But all these other ones, the other 45, I think it is in the greater Portland area, somehow, magically, and when they're in the burbs, seem to be better. Strange, right? Strange. So that's the typical vague statement big retailers issue when closing stores in San Francisco. But the owner of the mall where one of the stores is located knows what's happening. A spokesman told The Standard a growing number of retailers and businesses are leaving the area due to the unsafe conditions for customers, retailers, and employees. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what you got going on. You've got, a situation where you've created the perfect storm for all the shoplifting and chaos to take place on top of a layer of commercial real estate just absolutely going sideways in San Francisco. It's going sideways. And this is going to be a big, big story. And I think you will start to see more and more of this impact things, because when you've got a city the size of San Francisco and it crashes and burns the way that I think it's going to, you're going to have people talking about it. It's already crashing and burning to the point where you've got the businesses that we've covered closing down. And some of them say, once you get this squared away, maybe we'll be back. I think it was Whole Foods said, hey, if you can get some of the, the issues squared away here, we'd love to come back and serve the community. Whenever I read one of those stories, I always think that whomever that spokesperson is got their hand behind their back and they're doing this thing, right? Fingers crossed. or is it, did you cross your pink? Yeah, I can't remember. Remember that thing where whatever you were saying, it didn't really matter because, you had your fingers crossed. And so it was, you were okay saying that because they know they're lying. They know they're lying. They ain't coming back, because why would they come back and put all this investment to risk for somebody getting killed, not being able to make a profit, just all that craziness that somehow reimagining and rethinking is going to take care of? I don't think so. Got a lot of work to do in San Fran. You got a lot of work to do in Portland. Yeah, a lot of work to do in a lot of these cities. But San Fran right now is the poster child for, and that's why I'm covering it as much as I am, because they've just got issue after issue after issue that are big, major issues out there that you can point to and say that, and that. I rest my case. And I rest my case on this podcast. Thanks for being here. I'll catch up with you in the next one. Bye for now.